Pharaoh didn't kill the baby. After seeing that the baby was a Hebrew, the baby Moses was supposed to be executed. But when God is in the plan, all is well, because even Pharaoh himself was heart-stricken because something was hanging over the head of the baby Moses. Now follow me with the plan. Watch. Because now Pharaoh has become Moses' step-paw. Boy, this is good. I want you to see. And can I ask you a question? Isn't it strange how God will use your enemies to feed you? Listen, Moses was raised in Pharaoh's house. Moses ate Pharaoh's food. Moses learned at Pharaoh's school. Moses laid in Pharaoh, help me preach, Pharaoh's bed. Moses spent Pharaoh's money. In other words, Pharaoh reared Moses up. Now watch this. And I need all of you preachers and pastors to understand, including you, trainer, that when Moses grew up, Moses knew who he was, and Moses refused to be known as an Egyptian. Thank God when a person, and especially an African-American Negro, know who he is, who she is, and where they come from. Because you do know that we have a lot of folk who will forget when they get in the Pharaoh's house, don't you? You do know that some folk will go to acting funny. Folk get a little something in their pocket. They act crazy. But thank God for a person that knows where God brought them from. Talk to me, somebody in here. You ought to never forget where you come from. Now, Moses says, I ain't one of y'all. Moses says, we out there. But now watch this. Moses is ready to bring the children out. And I want you to watch this, because it was a miscalculation on Moses' part. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, preachers. You see, Moses was looking at his watch. And Moses thought it was time to deliver the children of Israel out of bondage. And how many of us understand that our watch ain't set on the same time with God? You see, we have to understand, brother preachers and pastors, that we cannot expect God to do things on our clock. And in this race, we have to go by God's timing. Now Moses saw an Egyptian taskmaster beating up on a Hebrew. And it was the spunk that was already in his heart that made Moses say to himself, if it's the last thing I do, I'm going to deliver the children out of Israel, out of Egypt. So now watch Moses. So look what he does. When Moses saw the Egyptians beating up on the Hebrew, Moses killed them and buried them in the sand. Moses looked at the Hebrew with a smile on his face, saying, one down, thousands to go. But how many of you know that God don't want to take our enemies out of our life one by one? We don't have to worry about our enemies one by one, because God has a way of making everybody leave you to hell alone. Now watch. Moses returns, get this, the next day, only to find two brothers are now fighting. So now Moses ain't going to kill the Hebrew, because this is not his intentions. But Moses wants to break up the fight. And Moses says, no, you both need to stop this. Yeah. Because you can't be fighting. You're brothers. And watch this. And little did Moses know that yesterday he took up for him, and today they rolled their eyes at him. Yeah, I wish y'all would see where I'm going. Did y'all just see what just happened? I mean, isn't it strange, brother pastor, when you help people by standing up for them, but then when it's time to stand up for you, they won't? I know I wasn't going to get too many amens on that. But just in case you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm talking about a good leader. A good leader will stand up for his members when his members look down on him. A shepherd will risk his life and will lose his sleep. He'll get out of his bed, leaving his wife, only to go visit a Negro that ain't appreciative, and whenever they hear something about the pastor, they are the first ones to take the gossip from house to house, from job to job. It's the same leader. You ain't got to say, man, I know I'm preaching. The same pastor, the same man who prayed for you when you were down, buried your loved ones, and they got a bad habit, brother preacher, saying that's your job. Yeah. According to my Bible, Jesus said, let the dead, come on. Yeah, I told you I wasn't going to get a whole lot of amens. Buried your loved ones at no cost. Married your kinfolk at no cost. Stood by your side when you were all by yourself. Preachers and pastors, you sure enough have to have the heart of God to fight for a Negro who will not fight for you. Yeah, it must have been a painful day for Moses because Moses was rejected.
Yes, he was.
Now watch this, and I'm almost done. Moses is rejected, not only by his own people, but now he's rejected by his stepdaddy, because now Pharaoh got an APB out on him, and the word is that when you find Moses, bring him to me. Now watch this. It's not strange, Pastor Perry. It ain't strange to want to run when you've been rejected. It's not strange when you want to change your membership because you've been rejected. First of all, I need to ask a question. Anybody up in here ever faced rejection? Well, then you know what it feels like to be rejected. And when you've been rejected, you don't want to talk to nobody. You don't want to come. You don't want to help no more. You get to the point to just let everybody do what they want to do, say what they want to say, because you don't care no more, because your heart has been hurt. Your heart has been broken. You have to shed some tears and say to yourself, if it ain't one thing, it's another. So Moses, guess what he does? He runs to Midian. Now watch this. Because now Moses was 40 years old when he committed murder. Moses did it with good intentions. Because all he wanted to do was set the people free. But watch this. God wasn't ready, but thank God for his word, because God told him, don't kill yourself because you killed the Egyptian. And quit walking around here with your head down, and don't let folk make fun of you and call you a murderer. Because Moses, and let me say this, that God has a way of turning our mess into blessings. All right. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Do you remember when David was sitting out on the balcony?
Yeah.
And he saw this woman with this Coke bottle shaped figure?
Yeah. Look out now.
Come on, come on.
Yeah.
Y'all remember that? And he was out on the balcony. Her name was Bathsheba. Yeah, I'm talking about David.
Yeah.
Slept with her. Yeah. Knocked her up.
Yeah.
And here come his son Solomon. But God took that foolish mistake. Yes, and God brought about one of the wisest men that ever walked this earth. Yeah. Yes, Solomon was born in adultery. And yes, his daddy wasn't right and his mama wasn't right, but God used that mess and turned it into, and I want you to know that God would take your mess up and turn them into blessings. St. Mark, don't you stop coming to church because you did it. Don't you stop because you said it. Don't walk around here because folk are calling you some of everything. But you need to look at your neighbor and tell them, I ain't what I did. Because God has a way. And there are some folk up in here today. You are looking good up in here today. But there was a time when you were messing up. But God took all of your mess ups, and now you got a ministry. So go home and tell your crackhead cousin, don't despise them because he or she used to smoke crack, because God can change. And when God changed, you can go to the rehab and you can talk to some folk that's been fiending, and you can tell them, I know how it feels to want to hit or a bump or a shot, but if God can do it for me, he can do it for you. Well, I had to start getting out of here. listen, Moses is rejected. I need you to see this. Moses there, and he's found him a wife now.